Hello everyone, you're welcome back to my channel. My name is Kumtatan. We have been working on input and output devices. So in this tutorial, this is the second phase. We'll be looking at output devices and their uses. In the last part, we looked at input devices. We looked at we discovered we had both manual input devices and then direct input devices. Now we're looking at output devices and their uses. So after you input your information or data into a computer, processing takes place. You need to see that data sent out. Either we normally see this using our monitors, or the data is printed or information is printed on paper like this, or you hear it in the form of sound, probably through speakers from your device. It could be a phone or directly on the loudspeakers. So basically, input output devices help us to see processed information from our computers. Now, the first output device we'll look at are monitors. So the first type of monitors we have are the cathode ray tubes, the cathode ray tube monitors or CRT. Basically, these are the least expensive type of monitors, and you rarely find them nowadays because of new monitor technologies. Mostly they are used for large screens in specialized areas of computer-aided design. If we look at advantages of this type of monitors, you'll see that the screen has a wider range of viewing angles than most LCD monitors. So because the screen is kind of curved, if you look at it, it's not that flat. So you can see from this direction, and then from directly in front. It also allows for use of light pens for CAD draw or computer-aided manufacturing applications. In terms of disadvantages, we'll look at its kite is bulky. That's one disadvantage. Um, Another disadvantage is also that it consumes a lot of power. So those are just some things that make this not good compared to the recent technologies. Now, the next type of screens or monitors we look at are the LED screens. Basically, they use thousands or a lot of tiny light emitting diodes. That's the meaning of LED. In red, green, or blue, you use a combination of red, green, and blue to form any type of color you want. Just you vary the percentages. So that's what these kind of screens make use of. You find them being used in places like maybe cinemas, very good gaming, TVs, and all the rest. So that's where you find LED screens being used. They produce very good quality images or images with very good quality colors. So that is a very good thing about the screens compared to the LCDs, the CRT monitors. Now let's look at LCD screens. Basically, LCD screens use LED technology for backlighting, or they employ a matrix of tiny blue white light behind the LCD screen. Or in some cases, instead of using the LED screens, the LED backlighting, they use cold cathode fluorescent technology. So the cold cathode fluorescent technology is what was used previous in the previous LEDs, LCD screens that just came out. But now most of the LED screens, or LED screens, they call it LED screen, are actually LCD screens with LED backlighting. So this is what we call cold cathode fluorescent. They look like this, but now the recent one we have LED, what they normally call LED screens, is just LCD screens with LED backlighting like this. So actually there are also LED screens like real LED screen, but most of what you find around, mostly the affordable screens that they call LED screen, are actually LCD screens with LED backlighting. So now, why are LEDs superior to the cold cathode fluorescents? Basically, there are just some few features that make the LEDs better than the cold cathode fluorescents. Like LEDs produce brighter light, which gives better color. LED screens are much thinner compared to the CCFLs. LEDs can reach their maximum brightness within a few seconds. So that should tell you the little power just to power on. So this kind of screens will consume a lot of power. Now, The next thing we need to look at is to see actually also most of the screens we use on our phones, laptops, desktops, and tablets are LEDs, RCD screens. So in terms of advantages, you find that they are very efficient and consume less energy. They are also lightweight compared to cathode ray tubes. They do not suffer from flickering screens as in cathode ray tubes. If you look at disadvantages, you will find out that with LCDs, most of them are just flat, so you have a limited viewing angle. Like what we saw here, you see they're just flat. So the viewing angle is limited. You just see only in front, you cannot see from the side. It is harder to produce deep, rich black color compared to CRT monitors. Then we also have motion blur, which is very common in LCD screens. Now, the next type of screens or monitors we're looking at touch screens. You find them in the smartphones, tablets, and smartwatches. Some computers also have laptops have touch screens, so they serve both as an input and an output. So that is one very important aspect of touch screens. They serve both as input and output. And then you also find them in ATMs, machines for or ticket collection areas in cinemas and others. Now, advantage-wise, touchscreens are faster and error-free method for entering options. That's true. They are user-friendly in most cases. Disadvantages of touchscreens, you find that the limited options to select from. So, like on an ATM machine, you have just a limited number of options you can select from. Then they are not good for large amount of data entry because they tend to freeze. Some they get very dirty. Less screens also get very dirty, especially when using public cases like for ATMs. So those are some disadvantages. Now, the next type of output device we'll look at is multimedia projectors. Basically, projectors just help us to get magnified images onto a large screen. Maybe you project it on a wall or on the white on a wide surface. That helps you to get a magnified, that's a larger image of maybe from a DVD or from your computer. So basically we use projectors for presentations. We also use them maybe in our classrooms for advertisement. Some people, some cinemas make use of that. Yeah, so in terms of advantages, you find that projectors produce better screen size for a larger audience. If you have, let's say, 100 people, they can't be using one laptop probably to see a video or a presentation. So this is where a projector comes in. You project whatever you're doing onto a large screen, and they can view it from different angles. Then we have the larger viewing angle I just mentioned. Disadvantages, projectors are quite expensive to buy, and then images can sometimes be fuzzy. That's true, depending on the quality of your lens. Now, the next type of, or the next group of output devices we have to look at are laser printers, are printers. Now, the first type of printer we'll look at are the laser printers. So laser printers, this will be the most common type of printers you'll find around. Basically, laser printers, as the name says, laser is a type of light. So they make use of laser light to create character or images which are printed onto paper. So this is the print technology. You can read about that if you need to, but I don't think you don't really need the concept, but it's also important for knowledge sake. So the concept, this is just how it happens. Something laser light is shined on to a drum, which makes it to that light creates maybe the characters or whatever has to be printed. Then the drum presses against the paper and impact or creates the characters or images on it. So it's something like that. You can always read about that. Then we also find that laser printers, because they produce less noise, they are used in office environments, libraries, schools, and those kind of places. And then they are an ideal printer for high quality, high volume printout. So these are just some features of laser printers. In terms of advantages, they produce faster printouts and they also have very quick print rates. And also another advantage that they can handle very large printout jobs. That's why you find them mostly in printing press. In terms of disadvantages, they are very fast when large printout copies are being made. So when you're doing a lot of printouts, they tend to become very fast. Um, another disadvantage is that color laser printers are more expensive to run. That's true, because just to buy the toner or the ink or the toner, it's quite expensive. So that causes the increases in the cost to run them. Then they can also lead to health hazard because these printers produce ozone and other organic compounds during printing. So that is something that should be taken care of. Another type of printer we will be looking at is the inkjet printer. The inkjet printer, as the name says, inkjet. So it makes use of ink. So droplets of ink are sprayed on paper to make characters. So basically that's how it happens. There's a drum of ink inside, so it sprays it on paper, and other mechanisms takes place to cause characters or images to be created on the paper. So it's an ideal printer for high quality, low volume printout. So you don't want to use this if you want to do a lot of printout. So this printer is not good for that. So in terms of advantages, they have high quality output, cheaper to buy than laser printers. They do not produce ozone and other harmful gases. So these are their pros or their advantages. And disadvantages, you find that their output is slow for large volume printouts, as I just mentioned. They are expensive to run because the ink is quite expensive to buy and it runs out quickly. Now, the last type of printers or the in this kind of category we'll look at is dot matrix printer. A type basically this is a type of an impact printer. These are some things you should take note of. Impact is an impact printer. So this is the only impact printer amongst them. It is used mostly for continuous rows of paper printout and seal receipt, where like the print bills and all those things. These long ones, they use dot matrix printers to do that. It's useful for printing in noisy and dirty environments. So that's ideally where you find um, dot matrix printers. In terms of advantages, they can be used in dusty or moist environment. That's an advantage for it. It's very cheap to run and maintain compared to the others. It's also easy to use, especially for long print jobs. They are very noisy and slow. That's a disadvantage. They might cost more than inkjet to buy. Also a disadvantage. Now, this one now is another category of maybe printers. We have the plotters and 3D printers. For plotters, they help to produce, they are used to produce computer-aided design drawings. You know, computer-aided design drawings that that are more larger compared to the normal printout we use in our office environment. Then you also have computer-aided manufacturing system. That's where you find plotters. So they are used for producing architectural drawings, engineering drawings, and animation characters. So all these big banners you see along the roads and for advertisement, they are printed using plotters or wide format printers. Advantages, they produce very high quality printouts. They produce large accurate color drawings. Disadvantages, they are very slow during printing and they're also very expensive equipment to run, and even the accessories are also very expensive. Now the next category or the next type of printer, which is 3D printers, these are just like this. It's a very recent and very good technology. 3D printing is primarily used for computer-aided design applications. You use them to produce solid 3D objects, so you can use this printer to print devices or objects that actually work. So that's a very good thing about them. They are used in manufacturing industries. You can use them in some medical facilities use it, and many others. So advantages that are much easier for manufacturing of items. So it's very easy. Rather than going from section to section and all those things, it takes time. 3D printing, you can just draw using CAD. You put your drawing into the system and then it takes time and prints that object for you. They are also good for rapid prototyping. You can actually create a prototype of something and look at it, which is much cheaper compared to buying the actual things and developing it. So they can also be used in medical facilities for prosthetic and reconstruction surgery. So for prosthetic, they create a prosthetic, maybe if you have a broken bone or so, or a broken arm, or those kind of things, they can create it using a 3D printer. In some cases, maybe they want to grow an ear or somebody lost an ear or so, they can create an ear using a 3D printer, then they'll use your cells to grow them on that ear so that it forms that particular shape, and then that also can help to for you to get back your ear. So that's where medically some of these things are very important. Disadvantages, that cause job losses, so that's a disadvantage. In the wrong hands, 3D printers are used for counterfeiting. That's also a disadvantage. Now, another group or another type of output device we have is the speakers. This one is very common. Speakers are very common. It's what you see almost everywhere on your phone. Probably right now, what you're using to listen is your speakers, or even from your earphone. That's still some form of speakers, or your headset is still some form of speakers. So basically, that's what we're talking about here. Advantages, they enable output from a computer to be heard by a crowd of people. They are also very helpful for visually impaired persons. So when you go to places like we discussed in chapter 1, you see when we talk about the voice assisted systems where people have to speak and then the computer performs a certain action. Speakers come in very handy there, because whatever sound is produced, they also have to interpret and take the necessary action. Disadvantages, output from speakers can be disturbing in certain environments, such as offices. Also, another disadvantage is that speakers can be very expensive for high quality sound. That is true. Now, the next type of output devices, this one is a little bit off, but it's also actually their output devices you'll find in computer systems, like on hard drives. Now, basically an actuator is a mechanical or an electromechanical device, such as you find relays used to turn on lights, motors. It is used to activate or deactivate. So they are basically used to start or stop something. A system controlled by a computer. So they allow computers to control devices that require analog input. So if you look at in industries, maybe an industry which manufactures or a bottling, or they manufacture drinks, they usually have this conveyor belt control system where bottles have to pass across for bottles to be filled. So that is actually usually controlled by actuators through a computer. So advantage of actuators, they allow remote control of many devices. Relatively, they are cheap to operate. Disadvantages, device becomes faulty, the system halted. Computer signals must be converted to analog using a digital to analog converter to carry out control of device. So when you send a signal from your computer, which is digital, it must be converted using the DAC before the actuator can perform the required action or instruction. So that is also added cost, which is a disadvantage. So basically, these are some type of actuators, very common one. This is a motor, for instance, used for movement of robotic parts or system components. This is a buzzer, used to produce noise in maybe security systems. Light, like you have this light on the dashboard of a car, they are used for indication, maybe right, left, and all those things. Heater, we also have heater elements for as actuators, maybe they are used to heat up or heat down something. Then we have relay, such as this. If we're connected, you can use it to turn on or off a device or circuit. So these are some actuators. They just activate something to happen when the signal gets to them. Now, as part of the tutorials, we also try to answer some questions on the particular chapters. Now, for this question, they say identify two devices which are used in control systems. So this is a past question from 2022. They say answer any of these two answers are correct. So Two devices we are using control system can be an actuator, a computer analog to digital converter, then digital to analog converter. Any of the two are correct. So this is the end of this chapter. That's chapter 2 of the Cambridge IGCSE ICT. So this is which talks about input and output devices. The video was helpful. You should like and subscribe to the channel to be updated when we upload more videos. Thank you. See you in the next video.